Yes.
All right. First item on the agenda is the agenda review. The only change that I'd like to make is pretty minor. We changed item 12 from potential executive session to an actual executive session for negotiations update. So, but that'll be at the end of the meeting. And then, are there any objections to that? Hearing none, the agenda is accepted with noted change. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me for a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is the visitor section. Are there any folks in the room that are visitor? Looks like I see a hand up. Okay. So other than the equity conversation or for the equity conversation? Jen. That was Jen that had her hand up, right? Yeah. Dr. Williams. Is it other than the equity conversation, or is it part of?
Yeah, separate.
Okay.
Because I'm actually not going to participate in the equity conversation. I just came in, so I made a statement. Okay, so
I'm going to read the public comment section of the agenda. And so this public comment section of the agenda is an opportunity for community members to address issues of concern about policy, budget, or administrative matters, or to share ideas about how we can work together to improve our schools. We value input and respect divergent views. We ask you to limit your remarks to 3 minutes per topic and refrain from airing grievances with individual members of the school community, including respecting the privacy of students and parents. Those that are attending the meeting remotely can also participate by typing their name into the comment section on the screen. Thank you. Let's do it with the persons in the room first. And I think we had Dr. Williamson in the back first.
So, I'm Dr. Williamson. I really appreciate the conversation that you're all having. I would love to stay to participate. I can't, I have to work tonight. But I do want to say, as the parent of a child in Maple Run schools, I am very concerned with the executive orders coming from our White House and what that means for our diverse student population. I ask that the school board and superintendent publicly reaffirm the district's commitment to protecting and respecting all children within this district. Children who are LGBTQIA, BIPOC, neurodivergent, and or disabled need to hear from you that you will stand up for their civil and First Amendment rights. Even if it seems self-evident, they need to know that you will defend equitable education and denounce bigotry and harm promoted by the current presidential administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room have anything to comment on? Okay, I'm seeing none. And John, is there anyone online that wishes to say anything? I don't think so.
Yeah, no one online, Milda.
Okay, so no other comments. I'm going to close the visitor section of the agenda. The next item is the equity policy work session. And we have our consultant, I hope.
Yes, Harry's here.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
It's Harry Frank, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. And we have several attachments in our packet, and I am going to have superintendent sort of start the discussion, and I think he's gonna turn it over to you, and you're gonna lead the whole conversation as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go. I think we're gonna be at like about an hour or less on this.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jacoby and Harry, we planned this out earlier, it's about an hour.
To keep it to an hour, yeah.
Keep it to an hour at most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Take it away.
Okay. And Mike, I'll invite you to join one of the tables because we'd like to have your voice in the discussion. Wherever you want to be, take a seat. So this is the second, if you remember the board, you asked to put together a plan to work on an equity policy. And so that was back in late October, early November. We decided to have a consultant, which was Up for Learning, come in. Harry's going to talk a little bit about Up for Learning. And Jacoby is one of their student facilitators. And so working with the Student Voice Committee and Up for Learning, we put together a 3-part series to bring a draft equity policy for the board to look at. And so I think everyone, except for maybe 1 or 2 people in the room, was here in December. For the 2 of you that weren't, please add in any thoughts. We kind of had a dual type of agenda here. If we had a bunch of new people, we were kind of going to go back and get people's inputs, thoughts on equity. But you'll see some of there's paper of all the handouts that were given. You'll see a lot of what the themes were that came out of the work from the last meeting. So for Zachary and Mike, if you see something that's not on there you think should be, please do that. Okay?
I was there.
What?
I was there last time.
Oh, were you here in the room? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. And then so if there's something, and I would say that for anybody, if there's something missing on here, those were the notes. And so tonight our goal is to kind of get some input on what we'd like to see in the equity policy.
Sounds good, thanks,
Thanks.
Phil. Thanks for having me back. I do want to say a word about myself and Up for Learning. And then I'd like to do another round of introductions, I guess reintroductions, which will help me familiarize myself with both your names, but also some of your thoughts coming into this work. So Up for Learning is a Vermont-based nonprofit, and our work is driven by 2 practices. One is youth adult partnership, and the other is youth participatory action research. And we're doing our best to live that tonight, as we did back in December, and we'll carry through in our next meeting, as we do with all of our work with school districts and other organizations that are youth serving. For us, youth adult partnership is really the practice of young people being at the table in decision-making roles. And what that ultimately requires of people is to share their points of view, listen to each other, and find common ground. Youth participatory action research is really I guess sort of a dynamic name for a classic research cycle. Meaning, we try to work with groups by having them ask questions and look at what people are saying in response. So one of the things we have in front of you tonight is some data that has been collected from your community around questions that relate to the work of equity, the work of doing our best for all our young people. So those 2 practices will be in action tonight. The other one, and I remember being so struck when I was here in December, is just to always revisit meeting norms. And you have those posted on your wall. So I had used those last time. And the reason why we often sort of pause before we really get started and remind people what our norms are is that it gives certainly new people as well as returning people a reminder of how is it that we work together in this room. And that's an important tool in building a effective partnership as well. If people don't know the norms of a group, it can be very difficult to participate. So I wanted to just touch on those things briefly. And then, as we did last time, and this is one of the pieces of information sitting in front of you, we asked people to introduce themselves by sharing their thoughts upon starting this work. And then we also asked about considerations to include going forward. So there's been about a 2-month period since we had this conversation. I would like to ask you to briefly reintroduce yourself by name and town affiliation or school, and then any thoughts you have about continuing on in this work. I'll capture some things here on the flip chart because it can be helpful to see those written down because they serve as sort of, light posts or just reference points as we navigate this conversation. So I think I'll stop there, and if we can just circle around the room and briefly introduce, if you'll introduce yourself in those ways. Can I start with you?
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Amelia Wallace. I am a senior at BFA St. Albans. I grew up in St. Albans town. I went to SATEC and I was also homeschooled. And I'm looking forward to continuing with this work because it's a bit stressful right now. I'm queer, I'm disabled, I'm a woman. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm never going to be ashamed of that. And it's a bit hard to feel like anything that I'm doing matters right now. I feel a bit powerless, but being at these meetings makes me feel like I'm able to do something. Poetry stops.
My name's Carly Henderson. I live in the city and I'm a member of the school board. I am also excited to continue this work. Having to echo what Jen had said before, just reaffirm our commitment to our students and our city of Queens.
My name is Joanna DeRose, and I'm also on the school board, and I live in Fairfield. And I'm also eager to continue this work. I'm glad that we are, and I'm interested to see where it's going to take us.
I'm Jessica Frost, St. Albans Town, and yeah, I'm very excited to do this. I mean, I think this is like a basic human right that all kids need everybody needs to feel like they belong in their community. It's the only way. How can you even learn if you don't feel like you belong?
I'm Jessica Palczewski. I'm in St. Albans Town, and echoing what Audrey said, I think this is very crucial. We started prior to the current changes, and I'm glad that we're continuing on.
Veronica Chisholm. I teach at St. Albans City School. I was here at the last meeting and I really enjoyed the conversations and I liked the way they approach. So I'm excited about tonight and see what we need to talk about.
Hello. Let's jump to the back. Thanks.
Kathleen, Human Resources Director for Maple Run. I'm just excited to see this process continue and that there's an investment.
I'm Jack McCarthy, school board member, representing the town of St. Albans, 50-year educator. I'm rather upset that DEI has become a dirty word by 50% of our population, and I really feel that DEI is a collection of our civil rights that have been accumulated over time, the rights for women to vote, own property, the rights of people with color to vote, own property. I would always want our schools to be inclusive, to accept Jewish, Catholic, Christian, Muslim, Hindu students, and really feel that this work is extra important at this day and time with our national government imploded.
My name is Liz Sato. I live in St. Louis Town. I work in St. Louis City. And I think this is really timely work.
Hi, my name is Luke O'Connell. I'm a senior at BFA, and I am excited to see the future results of our work and how we can positively impact kids' education experiences.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Kenyon. I represent the city. I'm really excited to do this work too. I have a child that's disabled, and inclusivity and equity in the school is really important to me.
My name is Mike Campbell. I teach at BFA St. Albans right here at the high school, and recently was elected the NEA director from Vermont, and I am the sole Vermont board member on the NEA in Washington, D.C. And the central core mission, one of their central core missions is this work. And I'm learning a tremendous amount from being with national colleagues. And I can't tell you how proud I am to be able to share what we're doing in our corner of the world. And I appreciate being a conduit between learning stuff, or hopefully bringing some back, and then sharing what we're doing right here with the United States. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, come up.
Hi, I'm Amanda Giroux. I represent St. Albans Town. I think we got a pretty good district, and if this can make it that much better, I'm all for it.
Mary Ann Doobie, sorry for the little throat problem. I'm from Fairfield and school board member. I'm interested to see where this takes us. I just caution, we don't know what's going to happen going forward, and I just caution us to stay calm, collected, and not fall into the rhetoric that's going on. Be wise. Don't be scared.
Zachary Kelly. I live in St. Albans Town and teach at City School. And as a band director, one of the biggest things I talk to my students about is community and why we do what we do, why we share music, and how we can support our community and uplift it. And this is just as good a way as music is. And so I'm really happy to be a part of it.
I'm Brianne Kenny, business manager here at Maple Run. I live in St. Albans Town, and I'm very excited for tonight's conversations.
I'm Jacoby Soder. I'm a junior at Bell's Free Academy in St. Albans on the Student Voice Committee. And I'm feeling really excited that our district is finally going to be taking a stance and adopting a policy that will give everyone an opportunity, it will state that everyone has a right to succeed, which is great.
Go Kimball, Superintendent of Schools. And this is something that I know a lot of work has gone into in the past couple of years to really set up the right conversation that we're going to have tonight. And I think that that's so important. And what I really look for is the commonality that we can find. And I think there are many of those. I think that I've had some experiences in the past month or two here in Maple Run that are really like, if we look at what we have in common instead of what separates us, we have 90%, 95% similar goals for our students and our communities. I look forward to discovering this.
Yeah. Is there anybody else in the room? I know there are other people in the room. Would you introduce yourselves and whatever you'd like to contribute here?
My name is John Muldoon. I'm the assistant superintendent from Maple Run, and one of the things that was really interesting to me about the last session we had was we talked about these concepts and we looked at examples of what other people have done, but we did it through the lens of what felt important and what mattered to us here in the area around St. Albans. And I'm excited to see that kind of conversation continue, similar to what Bill was saying about finding the things we have in common and finding common ground related to these concepts.
I'm Aaron Smith. I am the board secretary and executive assistant to the superintendent.
I'm Travis Vino. I'm on the district IT team. And I'm here for something else later, but I'm curious to see what you guys are talking about.
And I do want to acknowledge you, the camera person. Thank you for providing that service.
No problem.
Okay, so for one, I just want to appreciate the work you're stepping into. There's data in front of you on the table. And what we're going to do in this next stage of the conversation is look at what's here. And I should make a bit of a disclaimer. When we talk about research, we're not coming to you as third-party, blind, objective, control group researchers. Our approach to research is to use data to enable a group to have a conversation that matters to them, and to be as broad in your considerations as you can be. So we're trying to bring as many voices into this conversation as we can through these data sets. So with that in mind, the prompt for you, and I think it might be helpful, Bill, Jacoby, if there's some framing that you want to do to explain what's in front of people, but let me just put the question in front of you, which is, and I'll write it up here too as a reminder. What are your strengths? When you look at this information, what stands out as a strength in your school community? I also think the other side of the coin is important to consider. Where do you think you need to do work? Like, where's the areas for improvement? So again, I'll write this up here, strengths and areas for improvement. But before you jump in, I'm just wondering, do you think it would be helpful to just sort of provide, like, what's here, where did it come from?
Okay, so there are a couple different sheets. There are ones that look like this that say consistent policies to address bias and behavior, staff themes and student themes. And there's one that says community education action for inclusion, staff themes, student themes. Those are the themes that came out of last year's listening sessions that relate to these two goals. And the work of equity, as we look at the 5 goals for the district, in my biased opinion, really linked to these 2 goals. So the other part you'll see on here is the strategic plan that was created from that feedback. And the important thing to look on there, hopefully I'm not going too fast, for each of those goals are the goal statement, which has the goal statement, the theory of action, and then on the next page has the action steps and the evidence to meeting those. And that was all done by those listening sessions. If you remember when we started this back in December, we said, how much of a community outreach? Usually when you're doing this, you might have a much greater community outreach, and we're going to talk about what we might want to do after this. But we have so much rich data from 2 years of goal work and strategic plan work that we thought we had a lot to look at. So that's here. The other packet that's here was the same as last time, which has the equity policy examples from different districts and a sheet that you can put notes on, and that's going to be really evident to some of the questions. And then Harry did a nice job of typing up what we had for feedback after we looked at those policies. And I don't have my glasses on, so I'm kind of reading this as a bit. So we had thoughts about starting this work and considerations to include going forward. And I think that second bunch was done after we had talked in table groups.
Right, it was the end of the meeting.
All right, and then there's a timeline here just of what we're doing to develop, which you've had before.
So I would just say, let's focus on the strategic plan, the data from the listening sessions, your own conversation from 2 months ago, because we'll move to the policy documents after you've had a chance to look at the data and think about strengths and areas for improvement. What I would suggest is maybe we'll take 8 to 10 minutes. It's not a huge amount of time, but to look for yourself, make notes on these documents. Then at your tables, maybe another 10 minutes of conversation. After that point, it would be helpful to hear a little snapshot of what the conversation has been before you then pick up these equity documents, these policies. The final task tonight is going to be to identify what in the policies you like, whether it's a single word or a short phrase or a full section, so that we can build a policy without having to reinvent the wheel. So all those note pages that Bill just referenced, I'm going to collect at the end of tonight and put together as a single document for you to then have in 2 weeks to try to take to a final draft. So that's the step after this. But right now, let's focus on the data pieces, particularly around the listening sessions and the strategic plan. And I'll keep us on a timeline of about 10 minutes for this and maybe 10 more minutes for conversation. So.
10 minutes of quiet time to review.
Yeah, although if you're ready to roll after 5 minutes, please start the conversation. I just think it's important for people to have some time to themselves to look at things before you get started.
So my sense is a number of people are ready to start talking. If that's true at your table, we're already at about 8 minutes or so, so I would encourage you to start the conversation, if not now, in a minute or two, so you've got at least a 10-minute window to discuss. And I'd offer this suggestion that you give each person an opportunity to speak before you get into any follow-up kind of conversation, and that way everybody gets at least one opportunity to put their initial thoughts out on the table.
Good. Yeah. Everyone wants to. What initial thoughts of what we saw?
I really like, I'm on the notes from work session number 1. I really like ensuring that we engage community by listening to all voices, have the courage to carry out this work and make clear and direct statements, and build a sense of like sharing ownership, and then being mindful of like the ownership of youth and adult perspectives and ensuring equity and building equity policy.
Popcorn. Right. Especially if you want to connect to things.
Yeah. Popcorn means that you can go any way you want. People just jump in, so I heard a possible connection.
Yeah, well, I like the idea of having the courage to carry out this work. Just stating that is so important, and I think we've heard that from every single person here, and that matters. What I really enjoyed reading through again, and like seeing more of is the student themes and trying to connect those to what are. And there are definitely some like very specific scenarios that maybe have brought some of those things into the eyes of the students and the voices of the students that participated. But there's some good things here that definitely align with what you're seeing the staff needs, also include. And so I think looking at the commonalities there and maybe trying to pinpoint those might just strike up an easier common ground that you're looking for instead of simply saying what from each of the teams where we're seeing those common grounds to start probably not food fights admittedly, but that could be the work after the commonalities are found. What's that?
Connecting to the student things, it's nice to see that students really thrive on structure and guidance and so that like they want that and being held accountable, which I think that's really important also, having
For the second one, areas everybody, for me, is family support, and I really feel like that was already addressed in terms, or discussed in terms of what actions would we need to take. And even for what's like
So that I go to one that said here, all students feel.
included a couple times, but
Not all students feel well. That's what we learn in our
students,
survey.
staff,
About 85% of them feel well.
and not include their families. So, it's something that I would want to strengthen.
That's what we're trying to figure out. Why they don't.
I just noticed.
Maybe just creating the environment where they feel comfortable enough. Stepping on just saying that and saying why.
And my youngest is like, come here, my friend's parents, and I'm like, oh, it's COVID, and I'm like, no, it's like, so they just like, hurry, take it in. And I think that conversion is like, what do you get to know people, and set car schools, and.
That's the piece that I really started from the student feedback was following along skills outside of training for and watching, so that's really very activity and students here. Last time this is a tremendous amount of passion.
I've never seen a district so
But,
And also just to technically with what you were asking, holding staff accountable, I think that also comes in your viewpoint of accountability, because like even looking at this, what people are saying, they want to see some students or students and staff leaders are all kind of all over the board about what they consider to be
from the limited learning that I've done on equity.
holding somebody accountable for that. And so I think trying to establish a consistency might help us find that common ground to say, yes, we are, or no, we're not. How can we hold those?
Harmony staff.
So then one of the areas of
Putting the stage out.
Which says I don't give the same consequence, necessarily show the same action. Enabling the student needs to grow and learn not to do that.
Might
And so
take that.
if we're looking for outside, you know, that kind of thing was done for this student versus that student. And I saw this student, they said they got X, Y, Z comments, and it's not really down nothing. Whether
I
it's
would
true or
love
not.
that they
And they got experts in why, because there's different people that are in need of different supports or systems.
It's change that behavior.
Yeah.
It's a change behavior to really work. And so you have to find out for like the individual.
It's here, it's here.
For every action.
Yeah, and I think when they're
And so
like
that,
invited
like,
into something.
we hear that,
part of their routine.
that's her
I
one.
have to reiterate what I said, it's a lot to take in at once. I did
And so
read
it's like,
all
it's
of
like,
the
like,
policies that we were given in this packet last time Mary was here and made some
CTEC used
notes.
to have school things.
And one thing that I noticed was the discrepancy in a way from school to school.
But that's not fit into my day. Hard at dropping them off anyway.
Stuck out for me
And
a lot.
I would argue that part of that lack of engagement.
Part of it stuck out for me a lot because
Personal experiences.
it was,
There's a lot of people here, I'm not one of them.
So is that perception?
it's right at the end.
Who are now parents.
But I
That's
think
right,
that's
that's
Didn't have positive experiences, and now
seemed really
It's a perception.
rudimentary.
That's
right,
what I
some of
use.
the same teachers are
So how
probably
do you-
even there. And I
Structure,
think
but-
Maybe they have a really small school that doesn't have the LGBTQ community.
And that's what I hear when I see
They
feedback.
didn't mention anything
Last
about
year,
that.
you and I had
And
some
when
discussions
you
about that, and the role you hold and the role I hold. and like,
Other
it's hard to
schools
see
like
that, and
Tennessee
it's like,
and
well,
other areas come in, they have really strong
And that was
policies for everyone.
Both.
That's something that I noticed
It's not-
going into the city.
like, we have
didn't want
Yeah,
PTO.
where are
so
we
that
working
kind of-
on?
They were very on PTO, but
That's pretty much what they are.
I love having
The other thing that I really like, besides that, is also to all the students and teachers make sure everyone's included and receiving what they need.
So I keep saying that, I love to have parents, so like we was actually got this thing coming up next week, I'm inviting parents, and they're like, oh, yeah.
If we're outline driven like that, get out there, maybe have equity, Friday, some equitable, not so much data.
Yeah, not mine. Yeah, but,
So it's just kind of some of the stuff out there.
there's like 3 every day.
You need to get everybody.
Well, even the summation we have, we really did.
Those are
get
the
there.
two that I really start a lot of things, but
I mean,
those
not
are
that, that's odd,
the
but
things that
they,
really.
I have meetings
When I went through the strategic plan, I saw a lot of things that were procedural. I saw a lot of procedure, I saw a lot of comments on the procedural.
But if we just, there are
Like, how do you get down?
counterintuitive
And there were some great monitors
going in.
this year, like, what's the evidence of success? That to me would be like, that's the right thing to
You know, because they know the consistency, but they feel especially, I've shared this before, I'm pretty sure it still happens, I'm pretty sure this does.
So make sure, I want to make sure your voice gets heard too.
Pretty sure the high case, elementary school, that they do a meeting with every family. I'm curious what like in the student lead section. Well, if you know that, what is the men, I just want to definition. Right. I mean, and think about the fact that your child is maybe that lower class, or whatever, it's got to, like, you know, learn from this one person in year. And so when I was in school, like, so over and over. So if you're looking for in middle school, what is it, then
families, but
But
they
it's
struggling.
Right. That's great.
The direction we went on, support, need their help, but not, we're not with one. It's not a very smart child. But then by the time I got here, I was in an 8th grade.
You're talking about tracks. That's when we're talking about choosing
But the teacher also made that available. So I think that everybody needs to.
Everyone knew who was a sixth one and eighth one.
Oh, 5, 6, is very good, 5, 6, is eighth grade, some 5 to 5th graders, and 6th graders.
Really now, the kids that feel like are that's a problem. We do a weekly recess.
The current curriculum that we're using actually, the district is using, especially for K-8, to try and establish consistency and aligning our academics horizontally and vertically across the buildings in the district. It kind of does a lot of the differentiation needed to support. So
I think what's kind of meaning is having support like for everyone.
And so that's how
like the lower level passes maybe that there's more support for like
I have to admit, I'm a little hesitant to interrupt the conversation at this point, but let me just, we've gone about 20 minutes. One of the things I've heard a number of times is this is not enough, this is a lot of information to digest in this amount of time. Our aspiration for tonight was to take a look at, using this conversation to then look at the equity policy examples and identify like what stands out, like what really fits for us, what resonates, what's confusing and that we might not, what we might need clarification about, or with the aim of 2 weeks from now being able to move a policy into a final draft. I think we need to still push toward that. My suggestion is this. We have about 12, maybe 15 more minutes to bring us to an hour. And I've already heard people commenting on the policies themselves. But I guess what I would suggest is as you use this remaining 10, 12 minutes, to start to refer to those policies specifically, if you've had a chance to look at them and identify what stands out. And I also think for people who would like, they should take those packets with them, as I know at least one person has done, and take more time. And then we could figure out a way that I could get that, your sort of input on those policies to pull together for the next meeting. So we have 2 weeks between now and then. So I think that's a workable approach too, because I think trying to finish this conversation, apply it all to every policy, and walk away with a a collection of everyone's feedback is probably unrealistic. But I think we should get as close to that as we can. So I would just launch you back into the conversation with a nudge to try to start connecting the dots, even though I realize some people may not have looked at the policies in any kind of detail. Oh, sorry. I also continue to forget that we have participants online. My apologies for that.
Yeah, they're okay.
I had consulted with John and Aaron about like, can people talk to each other online or just what? But I wanted to apologize for forgetting. And before we wrap up, I'll make a point of coming back, particularly Charlie, you and Nilda, to offer sort of just at least your initial thoughts on this to wrap up. So, okay. Thanks for your understanding. I apologize for
We just had some We can talk about that. So what happened is, so we took there were 4 votes. Or actually 2 votes. They're trying, what is,
Just the last page.
what is found is that tracks.
Yeah, that.
Stigmatization really happens. And what happens is, we were all we all really started together. That was our meeting, class together, we can try and do that. We can all come together and work. How they can sit down, like, with some stuff that our teachers are doing, their seasons should just be really different. But what happens is
For that, and then regarding the so all the committee put together, because I'm not sure how much of it, what feels these charts, not saying at yeah, it's.
Yeah.
It's a statewide.
Yeah, it's
for personal learning plan.
And they were going, and seriously, they're not, seriously, like, they see it's time to do an AP class, and the kids that don't take it seriously, it's something that they should a burden on the
Exposed to, even the exposure to higher, more advanced will actually prevent growth.
try to do more research for your year, and make it, and
Those might be the
you have a website or something.
And so what you want to do,
Then,
research is strong, you
but
want to
they're
and support kids with skills as this can
They start in middle school.
Isn't that even elementary here? I mean, well, I mean, it's middle school.
Yeah, I think middle school is when they start
Right.
implementing and then in high school.
I would say that.
But middle schools are different, depending on the school you're in. So that's why I wanted to say, it is elementary.
Yeah.
So like, it is, it's weird, it's such a weird at high school level, you're trying to talk about, they not more active, it's more of they're like project. It's like, not because I don't like it.
Yeah, so one of the traditions my hometown has in your product, and you're trying to advise who do college and follow you for the.
Yes, it's like that.
Just follow you, and you
Somebody
get people that can get people, people to stand in front of them.
I'm like, take a fifth grader.
And then you know, like, that was my.
It's on let's say in fifth grade, and then go sixth grade. You don't start at fifth or 12th, is what it is, and expect everybody to know what to do, because it's just, it's not happening, you know. I know it's not happening. I don't know what it was like first. And this idea, I remember I was in
You're able to learn from
then, and then I was going to go, here's this other thing to do, and I'm what's happening.
So like, it's able to sink in
Well,
and
I
how to
say that it's
do these
happening.
math problems, so it
I just
helps
know
me
that
and it helps you.
I know that both my kids.
So it's what it's like
in very
AP,
and then,
IBs, and
but
other
there was no
They're
follow through. There was no
also
culmination,
able
even
to
in eighth grade.
Yours is
being pretty.
And it's
scary.
And
So
it's
it's
a
a
fraction of
I guess that's, you know, saying,
Um,
that's what I mean, like,
and
it,
making sure that
and asking
there
the
is
curriculum,
room for
because
young
it's
people
done
to
something, you can't start, you know what I mean, you gotta start in one grade, and then you build it each year, 6 or 8, and then by the time you learn kids, 5th grade or greater, then you've got kids that started maybe in, you know, grades below, and then they,
And
again,
then
they build,
that gap
it is
continues to grow, right? Because they're pushing you in this direction, saying this isn't as much as you can do. Whereas this group, they're saying, we're gonna keep pushing you to do more and more, so they're getting more and more opportunities. You're just staying a little more stagnant, and that's that gap.
It's great
necessarily
Right,
need to do
taking
better, but expose you to more
people have not
opportunities
figured out.
to learn rather than saying, this is your limitation.
And it shows you that
It's gonna happen.
there are people your age that can do it.
As
So why
it
can't you do it?
happens with
And that's why you have the support
woven into things that we think good hard. It's not, it's
One of the things that we've always said in education
so,
is
you know,
it's
like
based
it's
on
hard
based on age.
it was curiosity, it was
And we need to take
weird
that away
toward whatever.
based on the learning.
It's just hard.
You give the experts on
We have an action,
if they need
I think
to
we're trying to figure out.
Whatever.
And I was, I just wasn't seeing how we did.
I know the system you're talking about, it's more about saying, let the learning be, we've always been on that. You're gonna learn in September to June, it was like, and move on. There's a minimum pace of learning. Instead of saying, hey, there's this. We may have to do, for some students, they're gonna get to that target really fast.
To start out our doing like different online, find a single website, which is the website, and then much to be logged onto the website. And then we just document with the website, but there's also more on the website, because we need to research much of the bigger project. I have a model wrong. I was making a website about it's
So like, it wasn't necessarily like third grade science, but you covered it.
but also make it in a way so
And so
that
you got through everything, but everyone was learning at the same time.
And it's like,
No,
I'm
it
not
was
showing
the
this
same.
website to any of my future
We
employees.
all had to, like, reading third, fourth, and fifth grade, combine all the same projects that we would do, but everyone was doing the
And if
same
you're like, that's
project.
just my friend. And so it's third grade, we don't have any. Yeah, no, not.
Nobody else
And
there.
then for what else, I mean, or definitely.
No, all the same, so like, it's not like, one year we were learning well, I don't even know about that.
I needed to be there.
I don't know what we did, but it wasn't, it was not like the program. Or science.
Is it about us and about them?
But neither one is more challenging.
Just so we get.
That's where I was going back to the other, goes back.
One of, if it's okay, but one of the things that I just like looking at this section and then also in things that I saw in student themes as well as staff themes. Like some of the actions that I think would be helpful, like recognizing that we don't all have the same vocabulary or understanding of what's happening in classes. Having that proactive reaching out to the community, that includes like having an active PTO, having opportunities for staff to get education and then enrich the community with that information through events. Seems like a really obvious opportunity.
Why is this what's happening? Absolutely.
I mean, it's a hard thing to start, but yeah, it's, and then maintain, but I think that would help in, yeah, I think that seems like the perfect way to reach outreach to the community about what we're talking about now and struggling to share it, so we can develop the ways to share it. An opportunity to do the outreach and strengthen.
I don't just say, I'm just saying.
It's always been that way, and
So I'm wondering how that, I'm glad to answer that, but I'm wondering how that gears.
Well, you are
to feel like, well, yeah, to an extent.
right? If you're serious and you're
It'll be like,
upload $2, you need to work.
and that is the ultimate goal of Vermont as well. I mean, that's why we have No, that's what we're saying, enough now.
What's there is what's there.
Maybe one.
Because that isn't necessarily, I mean, there's anything like work.
Oh, it was adorable. When the kids were not for the time of ours. For the meeting, it works well.
Oh, yeah, but it won't work.
It's not built.
Texas, is it?
The teachers that I know that the science part
Yeah.
in my school.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not even sending a kid out with their instrument and their method book and saying, go learn something new. This is a reinforcement of what I am teaching you in school. So in a way, it's busy work, but it's reinforcing the concepts that I'm teaching to ensure that given the limited time that I am making contact with that student, they are still understanding this concept, and then they can come in when we are back together and have a conversation with me about what they get from it, what they don't. I can observe what they're successful on and share it with me. So it's reinforcing, it's not in itself saying, go home and make a concept.
Well, it's like, right, it's only
Okay, I'm gonna jump in again and interrupt for the sake of focusing. So here's what occurred to me as I listened in for a few minutes at each of the tables. This is an enormously rich and complex and in itself diverse conversations. I mean, you all are having, the themes are the same, but what you're talking about specifically is really different. So I was thinking, what do I do with that? So, Bill, can I just think out loud with you for a minute? So my thought is, rather than me trying to collect input on these policy documents tonight, that we have a 2-week window between tonight and when we come back to this. That people take that, well, take whatever you want with you, but specifically the policy packet. And based on, obviously, the start to the conversation we've had tonight and the path that you went down, think about what language in these sample policies speaks to what's emerged in your thinking and what you've heard from other people that you want to capture for this school community, for this school district. And then we come back next week, or 2 weeks, and we basically have round 2 of the conversation, and now we can connect it with language in these policy documents.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about this at our table here was we don't want to shortchange Aaron said this is a really important conversation.
Yeah.
So let's not shortchange it, and if we need more time, we need more time to get this grounded, because we gotta get this right. Sorry, I was kind of speaking for you, but that was a really very keen observation. So I think you're right on the right place of, let's have some think time over and then come back at the next meeting and give that input. It's kind of funny because we were just having a conversation about, we got on this tangent about homework, and we're giving ourselves a little homework to do. So.
Yeah, and I think I think it will help move the conversation effectively forward is when we come back together in 2 weeks, we'll go back into this conversation. We're not just gonna hand in your notes and think that we're finished. I think what it does is it gives you a chance to process on your own what you then want to talk about further. And maybe we have the hour for a good part of conversation, and then we try to translate that into language. Like, what are the words and phrases? I don't think we're going to try to write a policy as a group of 20 people, but if we could identify, like, what are the vital terms and phrases and sentences and sections, and then I could certainly take that input, put it into a draft policy that then needs to be revisited and finalized by you all. Okay. I did say something to Nilda and Charlie about, I'll at least circle back and open the microphone for the two of them to just say hello and chime in. Again, my apologies for not looping you in earlier, but And I think it could be sort of any takeaways that you have at this point that you'd like to share with the whole group. And start with just a brief intro of who you are.
My name's Gilda Ganella French, and I live in St. Albans City. And I'm chairing this board. And I think I'm a career board member. I've done this for a little while. I had trouble following the conversation clearly, because everybody's kind of drowning each other out. But I did do some of the reading. But the thing that has impressed me the most about this last hour is how engaged this group has been. It was multiple voices, not the same voice always taking over like a table. It was multiple voices. People sounded excited about what they were talking about. And I totally agree. I had that same feeling 10 minutes before you stopped. It was like, we can't get this done tonight. You know, that there needs to be more time, because when you get this number of people involved in discussion, like what's happening, it would be a loss not to somehow complete that kind of work. So I like what we're going to do. And I think to me, it's a testimony to this group that, you know, they're very involved, and I'm seeing a lot of the same people that were here at these sessions and have been coming to a lot of the community engagement sessions that we've had, and it's all positive for me. So thank you.
Thanks. Charlie?
My name is Charlie Brooks. My mic is on good. I am from St. Albans City. I've been on the board for about 2 years, and I was doing a lot of listening into what I could hear in the room, and I liked what I heard, and I would rather take the time needed to get this right than push something out to a deadline. Going over the different policies, I made a handful of notes, probably many of which are shared around the room, but a couple things that I would like to see us address is right near the top when we get this thing written is a very clear mission statement or purpose of it, which to me boils down to the district letting people know that we've got their backs and that we want to put them in the best situation to succeed, no matter what their background or situation is. One of the things that given recent federal events, one of the things that I have kind of that I am kind of curious about whether this would be the place to add it, or if this would be something else, is a matter of making sure that our staff and teachers are provided with resources just to alert them as to their rights, and certain local procedures. I would hate to have I would hate to have parents hesitant to send their kids to school because they're worried like there's going to be an ICE raid or something like that. And I believe that by providing some education, then that can remove a potential barrier that has emerged just in recent weeks.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay, Phil, I'll pass it back to you to wrap up, but then I think we've got a game plan at least.
Yeah, no, I think you just did that, Harry, with what you said there, and I think making that adjustment's a good one. And so I think Jacoby, the three of us meet, so we'll do that again and just make sure we kind of have it already scripted out. We just didn't get to that part of the agenda tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. We can do that next meeting.
Sounds good.
So for us to look at the policies and provide feedback.
Yeah, use this sheet for yourself to bring next time.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted any information ahead of the.
I think let's just bring it all to the table. Yeah, because I think it will it'll help us focus the conversation, and then I can take that sort of next layer as well. So yeah, I think it'd be better for you to hang on to it for these 2 weeks.
Would you like these sheets? Or
those are ones that people use for note-taking tonight. Yeah, I think I'd like to just sort of capture artifacts that are relevant to the conversation. So I am, based on Jacoby's prompt, I'm taking some of the notes from their table discussion. So if there are other tables that have materials that they're ready to pass on, I'm certainly happy to collect those. Or maybe, Bill, can I leave it to you if there's other stuff that people want to leave in the record?
Would everyone feel comfortable? Would everyone feel comfortable being in a photo that would go on Up for Learning social media to capture this moment? Got it yourself.
There you go.
I think, wait, is there, oh, there's another.
Do you want me to take it?
Oh, wait, this one might be good. We can do two. Yeah, which was, yeah, so you take, yeah.
Camera guy, do it. Should I go?
Yeah. I'll float over here.
Jack, you got to take a photo.
Which one? The smiley picture now. Yeah, okay. On mine? Are you looking, camera?
Are we all ready?
Yeah.
This is you all, so I'm good. You're good.
I took two to be safe.
Thank you.
I love the engagement. It's great.
Thanks, Jacoby. Okay, I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for coming here.
Have a nice night.
Thank you so much. Are we ready to move on? We're on item 6 of the agenda, which is the consent agenda. There are 4 items on it. Does anyone have anything they'd like to pull out for discussion? Hearing none, the consent agenda is accepted without objection. Next part of the agenda is the reports to the board. And we have the student board rep report. We have a few student reps here, so who's giving a report tonight?
You guys mind if I can go first?
Yeah,
So I'll reintroduce myself. I'm Cooper O'Connell. I'm a
Can you speak up, please?
Yep, sorry. My name's Cooper O'Connell. I'm a senior at BFA. And this is going to be a little different than the report I do. I've been doing a lot of work with the Vermont Student Council, which I'm a part of, around Governor Scott's new budgeting strategy and redistricting proposal. And I had the opportunity to meet with the Speaker of the House last night for a Q&A session about the plan. The best way I could put it was very inconclusive about the current plan/proposal. It was very vague. It lacked a lot of critical information for the structure, and I honestly couldn't get really a single answer. And so for our board members, I'd really like to urge you to take a stance in order at least to get involved. I mean, this could be through like a community event or even just a simple Facebook post. I just think that all the work that we've done here, like through building our K-12 system, and even just what we just did, is just so important, and I think it's just I'd really like to urge you to get involved in the matter.
Yeah. I'll echo those thoughts, and from a different capacity, I'm thankful to be on the new Youth Policy Advisory Council, which will be helping to advise the legislator and the governor around this new proposal. And I think I've taken a public stance against it, and it's a negative public stance. And I would encourage, like, you all too, to just kind of take a stance. And I think the work we're doing with equity, and I don't think it's very equitable, and it's all concepts of a plan that they have that doesn't really exist, and in actuality, probably won't work. And I hope it does, but I know it probably won't. But from a more student perspective, to bring some positive light into this world, the Student Voice Committee has met with SATEC twice now, which is super exciting. We've met with Fairfield once, and we're coordinating with City School to meet up with them and their student leadership group. And all of our connections with the middle schoolers have been super positive, and we're really starting to get to see what projects that these middle school student leadership teams want to work on. And I think it's really powerful that in this school district we're giving real student leadership opportunities to middle schoolers, because that's something that not a lot of middle schoolers have access to know that they are connected with their student board representatives, and to really feel like they're making change in their middle school is something that I think we're doing really well, and I want to celebrate that.
All right, Jacoby and I attended a meeting today during enrichment regarding bias response and reporting work. That was our first meeting, the second meeting of the group, but we are working on creating, or at least creating concepts of a better way for students to report instances of bias and harassment. So that's something that I'm feeling pretty hopeful about. And I personally have been working with two of our other student voice members, Marie DeSorger and Olivia Connor, on recruitment this year, because it's that time of year and Student Voice needs to begin bringing in new people, because me, Cooper, and Mackenzie are going to be graduating. The other day, me and Olivia, we talked in front of the entire staff of BFA. And I think it went pretty well. We talked about what we're looking for in students. We sent out a form and a response email, and we've been getting a lot of recommendations from new members, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, we
have
like 26 responses in under 24 hours, which is really, and we have a lot of like male identifying people, and we have a lot of really great and positive things that are really going to help elevate this group and the amount of voices that it can capture. So we're feeling really positive about that.
I would like to piggyback off of what Jacoby was saying about SATEC. I just want to kind of acknowledge Ms. Giroux and Ms. Biggy's work. This whole process of creating a Student Voice Committee at SATEC. I mean, we've had multiple meetings with them. It's amazing to watch the whole process and how determined they are to make SATEC an amazing educational environment. And they're approaching it with such a great, like, equitable lens, and just the whole process has been amazing to really watch. And I'm really proud that the Student Voice Committee at BFA is able to get involved with the work at SATEC.
Thank you. Any questions for our student board reps? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to old business. First item under old business is budget communications. Bill's going to review the status of where we're at with this and what we have additionally planned.
Yep.
Thank you.
At last meeting, we talked about a lot of different pieces that we were, that we could put together. And we talked about different pieces. I know, Charlie, you and I talked on Monday, and you're gonna try to have some coffee hours at, I forget which coffee house. Travel Cup, is that?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the Traveled Cup on February 7th, 21st, and 28th from 4 to 5.
We just put an announcement that was just in the messenger where we have to legally post it, but we're putting that out on social media, that the annual report's up on the website. All the information's been given to the messenger after the conversation we had last time to have the insert ready to go, so that's just parts of the annual report. It's a slice and dice. So we're working on that. I know that Aaron's been doing a pretty good social media campaign out there about getting out the vote, and that's been going out quite a bit. And the other things that we have still to do is the annual, and Nilda, you and I may have had a chance to talk about this, but our annual information meeting night presentation, so getting that put together.
Did we not talk about the last time I think we were together that we were gonna get an email that had some places that we could sign up to work with you to?
Yeah, I thought we sent out this piece earlier in the email, but I could be wrong. But I'll have to check. I'll have to check. If that didn't go out, we can get that out again. I actually, from what I'm hearing from our community, while we want to keep talking to them and educate them, especially about the ballot language, I'm more optimistic in the past couple of weeks of people understanding. I actually think the Messenger article that was in this past week, I saw some front porch forum chatter. You and I were talking about that last night, Joanna, and actually I went and asked to see like what have you seen, and people saying like recognizing the good work this board's done. So that doesn't mean we should stop. It's just I think the word's getting out there of the work we're doing, and that's the whole point.
Thank you.
One of the things that I was kind of thinking was that we should get some sort of involvement at BFA, especially for seniors and those that are 18.
Yeah.
Like now that I recently turned 18, I now have the ability to go and vote on the budget. So I think that if we could do some sort of educational presentation or something along those lines at BFA to kind of encourage seniors to go and vote and get involved like that would be something we should really look into.
Yeah, so I would just say tomorrow when we're together, Cooper, tell me how to do that.
You got it.
All right. So that, I mean, we still have a plan to let people know about the reminders to get out and vote, and doing that through email as well. So those are the pieces that are on the plans. I don't know what else, Nilda, that I might have missed or other pieces.
No, that sounds good. I think we just want to make sure everybody hears what we're doing and that we're doing it.
Yeah.
I have a quick question on the 5.11 versus 2% issue. I know you said Aaron is getting the word out. Is there a good source for me to look at and just try to get that language down so when we talk to people that we are using language that is consistent and not muddling up the message in any way?
Yeah, let me, Aaron was working on that. I frankly didn't get a chance to check in with her last week about how we're trying to make a succinct language about the 5.11 versus the 2% piece. So that is something I'm going to write on to do to get back to get out to you. I think that's a good piece to have a consistent message on that.
Yeah. Okay. That would be great for everyone to have kind of in their back pocket when they engage in a budget conversation, wherever. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll work on that.
Oh, okay, moving on to new business. We have a school bus camera purchase upgrade. I'd like a motion to approve the school bus camera system purchase upgrade with provision in the amount presented. For discussion, please. Can I have a motion? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion. Is it Bill or Bree or both of you?
I'm going to hand it to Bree. Travis is our person who's in charge of cameras, so Travis, you might want to come on to the camera.
Okay, Travis.
A little bit.
Sure, so we've got a pretty antiquated system currently in our bus fleet, which is about 22 buses that we operate out of Grand Avenue Enterprises in Swanton. Currently, the issue that we're really running into is timeliness of being able to get video off a bus for safety reasons or for student issues or investigations and that type of thing. So the current system, we're pulling the hard drives out of the buses, bringing them into the building, spending time downloading, scrubbing video, trying to find what we're doing, and then trying to find the time to get that hard drive back in the bus before it goes back out. Sometimes we'll have buses that are operating on the entire day basis. We have one bus in particular that runs BFA kids to Collins Burley back and forth all day long, and she's running a route of kids that definitely have we've got lots of investigations, so we're always pulling that. And she's got plenty of time without hard drives not in her bus or in other buses and things like that, where we'll have investigations. We miss things because there's no recording going on. So we put forth the idea of investigating into new platforms that allow us to stream by request video off the bus without having to pull hard drives. We didn't pursue anything with live monitoring buses. We didn't want to waste anyone's time with that, and that gets to a really kind of a gray area of spying on people all the time, so we didn't pursue anything that way. So I went, formed a team of someone at City School, someone at Fairfield, and someone at BFA. I involved Brianne towards the end of it once we started getting numbers, and we researched 3 different vendors. Our current vendor, which is Seon, by a company called Safe Fleet. We researched one called Safety Vision, and then ProVision was the one that the group of us felt was the best capable of doing the job. The easiest presented quote. They broke it down into a contract term of 5 years, so we can pay for it annually instead of having to cut a check for multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars at one time. And it'll all be something someone can sit at their desk and say, okay, I need bus route 1 on Monday from 8 to 8:30, whether it's all cameras or just, I know something happened towards the front of the bus, I just need that one camera. They make the request. When the bus is turned on, it offloads the video either via cellular connection or Wi-Fi, if it's in range of that, and they get a notification. They can see the video, they can save it, they can flag it for permanent record keeping. It's a very, very smooth operating system, and their customer service was top-notch compared to the other 2 vendors, even our current one, which they kind of dragged their feet, gave us a ridiculous price, and then when I told them we probably weren't going to go with them, they happened to magically shave $20,000 off their bid in about 24 hours. So ProVision was the one that we all settled on, and that's the one I'd like to recommend to you. I think you guys all should have the packets in there. So it's a 5-year contract, fully supported, fully serviced, fully warranted. Everything is all taken care of and wrapped up with a nice little bow on it. And then at the end of 5 years, we can either continue with just the cloud services for the hosting of being able to access that video and stick with that same equipment, or we can renegotiate a new 5-year deal. They come in, they pull all the old stuff out, reinstall the latest and greatest things, and we move on forward.
It says that it's for 10
What's that?
cameras?
We have 22 buses. We have, I believe, 5 minibuses that Northwest Career Tech Center operates, and then we were also going to include 4 dash cams, which would be for 2 buses, a bus and a van at City School, and the 2 driver's ed vehicles that NCTC operates as well. So we're really talking 31 vehicles altogether. One of the guys still didn't get his numbers right, even though I asked him to. I think Safety Vision still didn't have all the numbers right as far as the actual vehicle quantities goes, but ProVision and Seon Safely definitely did. Seon didn't even offer an option to be able to pay for it over the course of a number of years, so we would have to be dishing out I think it was $190,000-ish, or almost $200,000 for Seon, which realistically they all add up to about that same price, but I like the idea of being able to spread it out over 5 years. It makes that a little bit easier to stomach, budgetary-wise.
Thank you, Travis. Any other questions for Travis?
Did you say that the information goes to the cloud?
Only the requested video is saved, and they meet all the privacy and security requirements on their servers, and they hold on to that video that we request that people have access to via login and 2-step verification for 60 days unless it's flagged for permanence. And we can also obviously download and save that video into our own storage here, whether it's Google Drive or local storage and that type of stuff as well.
And do only we, when I say we, meaning the district, go through that? Like, what's the ownership in terms of like the bus company? It's kind of ironic that we have to pay for the buses and we have to buy our own cameras.
Yeah. So only people that have logins to the system on the back end of things would be able to request the video. This did come up because Fairfield shares buses with a couple of neighboring towns.
Yes.
And Brandon, the team talked about that if they requested video, one of the already approved members from Maple Run would get that video, and then if we really felt a need, we could bill them for time or something to that effect. But obviously, Provision in this case would have access to help tech support wise, but they don't have unlimited free range unless we open up that channel to them.
Charlie, you have a question?
Yeah, so just to make sure I'm clear, so by default, the stuff on the cameras gets recorded and it is saved for 60 days unless someone goes in there and says we need to make this a permit, something we keep on file longer. And then after 60 days, it's purged off the cloud?
So none of the video is actually put onto the cloud unless it's requested. It all stays local on the recording device that's built into the bus. So the only video that would actually get put into any type of a cloud situation would be if I logged in and said I needed bus 1 from 8 to 8:30 on Monday, and then it stays there for 60 days. And then the bus keeps recording over it until it runs out of room, and then it just deletes, it records over the oldest information first. Very similar to the way our system works currently, except for currently we're pulling a hard drive out and removing that recording capability off the bus. And when it's back in there again, it just records over the oldest date. But we'll have weeks upon weeks worth of recording regardless of what system we go with. So if there's an issue from a month ago, more than likely we would have the capability of being able to retrieve it.
Okay, so by default, everything stays on the hard drive on the bus unless it is requested to be moved onto the cloud, in which case then it's stored for 60 days by default?
Correct.
Okay, super.
And we can delete it if we need to. Obviously, if we know we've done the investigation, we don't need that anymore, we can delete it off of their system. It's just a default term, like you said, of 60 days. And then we can flag it for retention or we can download it ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Any other question? Ready to take a vote? All in favor, Amanda?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Nikuma?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Harley?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Neil votes yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for that work. Next item on the agenda under new business B is one of the things that's given me a headache. The governor's plan for Vermont education. Bill has certainly been very complete in giving us resources to read and read and read and read about the governor's plan, but I'm going to turn it over to him to see if he can condense what he wants to say related to it. Go, Bill.
Well, thank you, Nilda. I'm going to take a little bit of Cooper's that he introduced, and one of the reasons for me to bring this to you as a board, some boards have taken a stand on this, where they are, or how they want to be involved, or what they want to do. One of the things, and I'll get into what the components of the plan are in a minute, but one of the things that happened about 2 weeks ago, that's part of this plan is advisory groups that are advising on different parts of a consolidation, whatever it is. And not saying that we're for it or against it, but it's giving the field some voice. So there are 4 people in this room that are on those. There's about 8 or 10 advisory groups. I don't have the list in front of me.
Yeah, there's 8.
There's 8, thanks Jack. Jack is on for the Vermont School Boards Association. Jack was nominated to be on the timeline group. John, for the curriculum directors, has been on for the pre-K group on advisory. I've been nominated by the superintendent's group to be on governance, so how governance should work. And Jacoby just told you about his part for the youth input. So I think Maple Run's really well, it's not that any of us are for it or against it, it's just that I really have leaned into this in my discussions with Nilda and with others. I've been telling this pretty openly. When I came to Maple Run, I had been in a place that I had been very active in statewide education talks. I was a trustee for Vermont Superintendents Association, and I testified quite a bit in the Vermont legislature. And I came here and I said, I want to focus on Maple Run. I'm going to kind of let the state stuff go, but this is a point where I think it's a time to lean in. And so my question for putting it in, when Nilda, Charlie and I talked about this being on the agenda, is really to ask the board, how much do you want to lean into this as a board? And some boards have written position statements already. Some have said, we just want to be active and listening. Some have said, we're not going to do anything. So there's a whole gamut out there. I want to advise you. And it's really for what you want to do. I do want to say, with all the press that's happening around the governor's plan, it's a plan or proposal. And it's just that. What it takes to make it happen is legislation and bills. So there's one bill, and that's been H129 that's out there. I'm sorry, 129 is the wrong one. I have two bills there in front of me. 122, that's been introduced by the Democrats, that brings up 25 supervisory unions. I won't say there aren't other bills, but those are the bills that I've been watching the agenda for the House and Senate. I watched, their agenda is what they do weekly about what testimony and what bills. This bill calls for 25 supervisory unions to be created. I think I can say pretty confidently that there is a movement in Montpelier by all parties to do something. What that something is, I don't know. So it will take bills enacted, and it's going to take a huge rewrite of Title 16. Which Title 16 is the education laws. If you've seen the green books in my office, they're about this thick. And they're really what guide us in everything we do outside of the school quality standards, which are the regulations that come from the state. So as you've probably heard, the plan here talks about 5 supervisory districts across the state, made up of, they'd have to figure out the governance representation, because the equal representation clause, for those of you around here for 46, understand that for what our structure is right now here in Maple Run. They'd also have to figure out how are they going to support the schools in districts that size. They range from 10,000 to the one we would be in, which is they just picked the superintendents, our 5 regions. And those regions are just kind of, were arbitrarily picked probably 50 years ago when they were put together. And so they range from 10,000 to 34,000 students represented in those regions. That's what Champlain Valley would be. It'd be going all the way from, I want to make sure I get as far south as Canada down to basically Orwell, almost Orwell, along the lake, and as far east as the Green Mountains. So it'd be almost about 150-mile length. We were doing that the other day. The other piece that I would say is there's a lot of pieces about consolidating curriculum, consolidating governance, and there's been a lot of questions around where is the money actually coming for to make $180 million savings, because what the press has been out there is about cutting central offices out, but you won't, if you put all the central offices in Vermont in their cost, you won't come up with $180 million in the state of Vermont. And when you see districts that size, you grow middle management. If any of you have worked in urban areas or no urban school districts, usually it's about a ratio of about, you have an area superintendent, area supports for schools that have about 8 to 10 schools with a superintendent, a special ed director, and an HR of some sort. Those are the support schools need. That's my personal, what I know from colleagues who have worked in like Hartford or Boston, Worcester, that type of area. The other pieces that are in here is getting a unified curriculum. It's not just even a unified curriculum, but down to unified programs from what's been kind of proposed, it's been hinted at. And so really unifying that piece of it. And the funding was just released last week, and I won't say that I'm all on top of it, because I would have to recalculate all the long-term weighted averages, because they're changing all the weights for all the pupils. So I tried to attempt to do it last night, and after an hour I said, I'm just too tired to try to do it. So I was trying to get that to you today, like what's the financial impact for Maple Run? Because one of the pieces is that the special, and this happens in many other states with the foundation formula, that's the type of funding, you may have heard that, is that special education is funded at the state level and is not counted in that allotment per student. So it's really trying to tease all that out. What does that mean? There have been some, have actually been watching quite a bit of the testimony, either at night or had it streaming if I'm in my office, which is rare, but I try to keep it on to know what's being asked. From what I've seen so far, senators and House representatives are asking very good questions. And everyone's asking what are the details, and those have not been forthcoming yet. So, I don't have the Senate bill with me. I haven't looked at. I've only been looking at the House bills.
Okay.
Traditionally, with education, not always, but traditionally, and Mike can help me with this, but bills usually start in the House for education. They don't usually start in the Senate. So I've been watching the House.
Okay,
And
I thought you said Senate.
I will talk about this more in my superintendent's report, but I'm also say here, I testified on Friday to House Ed about instructional size for district instructional size, school instructional size, and classroom instructional size. We're one of the districts that's kind of leading that research base. You all saw that. You saw class size, but there's also research around school sizes and around district size for where's their cost effectiveness with highest student outcomes. So we're trying to take that meta-analysis and bring that, which is different than what the Secretary is proposing. There's two big meta-analyses that have been done on district size, which one meta-analysis says it should be a district for most cost-effective with the highest student outcomes is from 2,000 to 4,000. Another meta-analysis says from 3,000 to 6,000 in size. And that's what the PICUS report that was released this fall said. So this is a little different than the PICUS report that came after that. I can go forever on this because I decided to go really into this because I think this is a time to lean in. I might look at Jack and Jacoby because you've done some work on this too. Go ahead, Jack.
So, going into this myself, my main question is, there are 83,000 students in Vermont. Are we just going to put all the kids back in the same buildings? That wouldn't change a whole lot, because most people don't worry about who's on the school board or what's the governance, and they just care about how's their school doing and how's my kid being taught and so forth. So there's got to be, if we're really, the talk is, oh, there's too many small schools in Vermont. Well, are we going to start building, like where are we going to put these kids is my overall question. And where's the money going to come from to build larger schools? And I come from a state, 30 years ago, I was in Delaware, and I worked in a central office eventually, and my office was a small elementary school classroom that had, I've seen another state go through the consolidation where you take all the elementary schools, you make bigger elementary schools, and when I was a principal there, I had schools that were like 1,500 kids, 3,000 kids, that kind of thing. When I came to Vermont, I saw schools with 22 students, or schools with 300 students. I thought that was pretty funny. But as I'm seeing the state, and it's not the legislature that's doing this plan, it's the agency of ed. So that's why Jill didn't have all these answers, because the legislature's going to do bills to support it once they have their plan, but the plan is coming from the agency of ed, which is under the governor's leadership. So, so my question is, I've already written my question to the leaders of the group that I'm in, where are we gonna put these kids? Has that been thought? Because none of the 8, not one of the 8 teams that they're asking us to meet, and John's on, Bill's on, and I'm on, and Jacoby's on, they don't involve facilities. And that's, to me, a major thing. I mean, I don't know what you folks think, but, you know, okay, we're gonna get rid of small schools. Where do you put the kids? Do you go on to these other schools? It's gonna cost building money, and I don't see that from what I've read. Like you say, there's pages and pages and pages to read. And I don't see anybody talking about buildings. And to me, that's a major thing. So I'm going in with a lot of curiosity.
So, Milda, I kind of gave all that as an introduction for folks, but I don't know where the board, you know, what's the pleasure of the board? I guess is the best way of saying it. And we talked about at least some discussion time for the board, and not that you have to do something tonight, but it's, you know, I think it's something we should be discussing at each meeting, and, you know, is there something the board wants to do? And no is a fine answer too. It's just, I want to make sure there's the opportunity for the board's voice.
I also want to say, I was a part of facilitating the Agency of Education's Listen and Learn tour, which is where they're claiming that this grand idea is coming from. But what they did is they took the youth perspective that they're using to help justify this is distorted information, and I helped develop that report and analyze the data that young people, you know, took their time to say and report. And what they're doing is they're distorting the data, and nowhere in the data does it say that they want to close schools, that they want to be consolidated. It talks about student leadership, and it talks about diversifying opportunities, and it talks about multicultural education, but it does not talk about what the government is saying. And I'm going to be presenting to the legislator in a different capacity, not on the policy committee, but through Up for Learning, the organization that helped develop this report. I'm going to be presenting to them the report because I think they need that, because they couldn't handle looking at the report themselves, and so we're going to help them look at the report.
When are you doing that?
We're doing it in the upcoming weeks. Yeah.
So, is somebody talking?
I think you're good, Nelda.
Okay. I mean, I like the idea of having a position statement. I'm not sure we're ready for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, there's 2 or 3 bills that are already on the deck, right? That have changed a lot of the parameters in the original plan. And some of the parameters that are in the new bills aren't even parameters yet. They're sort of like thoughts. So I think it's going to morph a bit. I think it's going to morph a lot, actually. And I think, and you know, Bill and I had this conversation a few days ago. I don't think anybody will argue that is it 119 districts, whatever, it's 100
Around there, yeah, it's around there.
Yeah, that's probably not necessarily the right number, but 5 isn't either, right? And that idea of 25, that sounded kind of cool to me when I heard it, because it seems like it's a reasonable number, but somebody would have to do that analysis of how many students does that affect and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I think we should do a position statement, but I think we need a little time. And I'm not trying to kick the can down the road. I just think that we need to have a little more information. And we're really lucky that we have 4 of you that are so close to where the action is that, you know, we may get our information sooner rather than later. I don't know. How's the rest of the board with this? Board?
I actually like that.
Is any-
Nakuma? I like that idea. I think right now we're in the discovery phase. I think as everybody is, and we're saying that there's so many questions unanswered. I do think at some point we do need to make a decision as a board and take a stance as a board, but I think right now it's a really good listening and finding out phase because there's so much unknown going on.
Thank you. Anyone else? I can't hear you if someone's talking.
I've got a comment, I guess.
Okay.
I agree that I think it would behoove us to put together a position statement. I think we need more information than we have just this moment, but we should be doing this soon because it's going to be moving fairly quickly. The two things that one thing that I think can benefit us is that we have a lot of the groundwork laid with our goals work. We have a group of district goals that we came up with the community, and we can take a look at when we determine our position. We can take a look at what's out there and figure out do these align with our goals, and are these completing the missions that our community wants.
Yeah.
And I think that should factor into it. And I also think that we should make sure that we are loud about any potential area, like Jack mentioned, the infrastructure issue. And I think one of my worries with this is that legislators don't always know these issues before they vote on them. We just went through a budget cycle last year where the entire budget framework got scrapped at the last minute because they found out that what they had thought was going to work didn't work at all. And so when we see the issues that aren't working, we should be very specific and make sure that those are well heard, because otherwise we're going to wind up with a huge overhaul and then a huge gap, and our schools are going to be falling apart.
I totally agree. I think the law of unintended consequences could bite us in this proposal for sure. Just like some of the other ones have, so is everybody comfortable with waiting a short time, but we're, sort of have it in our back pocket that we're putting a position statement together using the work that we've already done, plus adding to that? That makes a lot of sense. I need the camera to show me everybody, please. I don't know, I'm focused on.
I'm good with that. I just, this is Joanna.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that I wonder if it's not, I guess, helpful, supportive for us to say something along the lines of that we encourage other school boards to be actively listening and information gathering, and that we will soon be interested in taking a stance, and just inviting, other folks to be listening and to be also formulating, stances.
I think that's really powerful to say that we're going to come up with one, and we encourage, the other 119 school districts to come up with one too.
So if we wanted to do that, what's the best avenue of communicating that? Would it be through Jack with the Vermont, the regional boards, or would it be through Bill and the superintendents and sort of send it down through, or both?
So usually, I'm just going to give you a process piece. When a board wants to make a statement, you have a resolution, and you vote to approve that resolution, and that's the statement of the Maple Run Board. You say that this is we resolve that we would like to ask. I'm making this up on the spot, which is never good for a resolution, so maybe you want to do this at your next meeting, but we resolve that we actively encourage all 119 district boards to please lean forward into this work and listen and learn, and be prepared to state your position when you feel so inclined. That might be my best makeup on the spot that I can do right now. But then you all vote to approve that resolution, and then you send that up to VSBA and ask them to communicate that out. Because Jack's on your executive board, that's the board taking a stand and saying, we want to say this.
What happens with resolutions is every year at their October conference, resolutions are either adopted or not adopted. So even if we made a resolution, it wouldn't get immediately adopted.
Right, for the whole state, but it could be something you resolve to ask the SBA to communicate this out from Maple Run to all the other boards.
Right.
That we're asking you to lean into this work. And so you're not asking for a statewide resolution, you're just saying, we're calling everyone to action, please get in.
Okay.
That's an idea. Yeah.
And so if you'd like that at the next meeting, I think we could work on some wording and bring that to you. And if that's something you'd like.
I think that would be certainly something to consider looking at the next meeting to see if, I mean, unless anybody is totally opposed, I am not hearing opposition at all. So let's go for that. And I'm sure Bill is going to keep us informed with.
Yeah, are people fine, when I find a bill, I'll send you a bill to you. Anything that comes out in the plan that comes out, I know you get it through VSBA, but sometimes they say, hey, cut attachment into it, and you have it.
Yes, that's been very helpful, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sometimes it's buried in the VSBA stuff, you know, you have to dig through it to get it, so I appreciate that. Okay,
It's okay. Sorry. I would encourage everyone to be very educated on this. It's very easy to read a bill on the General Assembly line website. And you can, I think it's very important to know what's going on. And the governor has a press conference every week, a couple times every week.
Right.
And I watched his press conference today just to get caught up on what was going on, and it's on YouTube, so everything's on YouTube. For good or bad.
Yeah.
But it's important to know, instead of listening to whatever media you listen to, just educate yourself.
yeah, and this could change.
Yeah, it's gonna change for sure.
Things can change pretty quickly. Thank you all for that. Can we move on, Bill, or is there anything more related to governor's plan for?
I asked my question and heard from the board, so I'm all good.
Okay, well, I think we gave you our sort of answer. Next item is the warrants. I'm going to make a motion to approve the warrants, acknowledging that passage of this motion will act as authorization and signature of the individual board member participating remotely. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Jack seconded.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I have a motion and a second. I think we can vote. Amanda?
Yes.
What am I missing?
The door wouldn't open for the meeting.
Hi, Cooper.
Okay. Thank you. Nakuma, you said?
Oh, that was just saying, they're trying to get out of the students are trying to leave, the door wouldn't open.
Okay, how about the vote? Are you?
Oh, sorry, yes.
And what else you got going on? No. Jack?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Mariana?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Nilda votes yes. Warrants are passed unanimously. Next item is the superintendent's report. So you can give us your report, tell us everywhere you've been and what the name of the honky tonks were.
Yes, thank you, Nilda. I already mentioned about the annual report being posted. We ended semester one for the high school on the 17th, which was just after our last meeting. And then the staff had in-service on the 21st, which was working on, they all have areas that they've elected for professional development. There's a couple staff members in here, you could ask them what they did and what their highlights were, but they've been working on that. As I don't know that I told the board this, I did tell Nilda and Charlie this. I was invited to attend a leadership conference in Nashville that was nicely paid for by someone else beside the district for us to go. And it took us down there on the 28th, 29th to be in a cohort of 30 superintendents from around the nation to talk about our positions as public officials and communication practices that we use and how we try to bring our communities together. I said on the podcast earlier this week, I love going to those things, but I come back and I just say, what a special place Maple Run is. And I heard the problems, and Mike, you might get some of this too. You hear some of the problems that others are dealing with, and you're like, yeah, I really like St. Albans. I really like St. Albans. And so had people from New York City superintendents that are in their system that they report to a chancellor, to some folks from the Ozarks, some folks from Alabama, Tennessee, from Ohio. There was only one superintendent out from the West Coast from Oregon. So it was just, there were five of us from Vermont that went, and 4 of us right from this region. So it was a really good time. We really had some learning, and it's a year-long cohort that we're in, and we'll get back together in DC in July. And we get to really kind of share our learning. So, and we have some coaching, which is nice to have some peer support. So, as I said earlier, I testified in the House about instructional sizes. What does research say for that? And then I gave examples of how we've dealt with that here as Maple Run, and trials and some of the issues that we have to deal with on that. When it's a school size, district size, classroom size. I do want to point out that we do have a number of events that are happening here, that have happened, that are going on. I know there's a couple of concerts in each of our elementary schools coming up. I believe there's a 3-4 in Saytech this week. You're next week, right?
Next Thursday.
After you emailed me, Zachary, on that. So there's great things to go to. Erin's good about making sure all that's up on the website under events. You can look there. I want to tell you about one other thing. Next Monday from 8 to 9:30. Every month, there's the Franklin County Legislative Breakfast. We're hosting that, as we always do in February, at the Tech Center. So you're more than welcome to come. We'll be at the Hideaway at the Tech Center from 8 to 9:30. Monday, next Monday, I believe is the 10th, if I can do my math. From 8 to 9:30, please come. I attended the last one at the at City Hall, and I plan to be going to those each month. And we've had some really exciting student data. It's made it all the way out to the teachers, so we'd like them to hear that. I know that's going to be worked on tomorrow some, at least in the committees. And John is going to come back at the next board meeting and give you some highlights of just some tremendous results from this past semester. Our students and our teachers are really doing some great work. I got a glimpse of it at 4 o'clock this afternoon. It was like, wow. So that's my report, done as quickly as I could. I'll take any questions.
Thank you. I have a question, unless someone's talking. Is someone talking?
Nope.
Okay, status of the alternative.
Thank you, you asked me that. We opened the alternative school on the 27th, so it's been open for a week. I believe there are 11 or 12 students there right now. There may be a few more that move in this year. We're still down a staff member, but we've been able to make that work. And they're figuring it out. And there's some celebration, there's some bumps. That's the way it's going to be with a new program. Any new program goes through an implementation dip. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying that's usually the way programs go. And then you figure it out and reset and keep going. So it's up and running. And I know that if you'd like, I'm sure we can get more of a status report later on in the spring once they've had a good couple of months to get going.
Perfect. Any questions for Bill related to superintendent report or other? Okay, we'll move on to board announcements. Any board announcements, folks?
More of a reflection. Thanks to Jack and Marianne for coming to that community forum. I know a lot of people didn't come up to our table to talk about school board, but I don't know if anybody in the room was there, but it really was.
I was there for about 35 minutes. You were fine, and I had just come back from DC, and I was in that part of it.
Well, like if you're not in that world, you don't realize how many resources we have in Franklin County and how good of a job we do with helping people with housing and homelessness and addiction. And we do really have a very nice safety net. I mean, the problem is it's constant. As soon as they help one person, the next person's there. There's waiting lists for everything. And this kind of ties in to like a few things. So with NMC, we do this community health needs assessment every 3 years. A lot of organizations do that. And the top 5 issues that came up, we just put the report up on the website, are access to care, affordability, mental health, substance abuse, safety and belonging, community connection. And what struck me about the forum is that like all those services are for people who've already slipped through the cracks somehow. And there's all this upstream work that really needs to be focused on. And I think our work around the equity policy, around making our schools belonging and like a nice community where people feel like they can be themselves and be supportive is really key to just building the overall health network of our community. So I'm very happy that we're doing that work and how it ties into just the bigger picture of our area.
Thanks, Jess.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Oh, and I will put a plug in. If anyone wants to get involved, Erin Creeley from BDH has started a once a month Friday group, and it's really open to anybody in the community who wants to just get involved. That's what the forum came out of. And they have some other, they're going to do like a movie about the housing situation and have a talk about it. And there's like a list of events, and it's anybody can go. It's just brainstorming and trying to take some action. So if you're interested, just let me know. It's on Teams, so you don't have to go anywhere.
Thank you. Any other announcements? I have one thing. I have the phone number to reach the offices of Bernie Sanders, Becca Ballot, or Peter Welch. And if you dial this phone number, you can tell them what legislator you want to, office you want to reach, and you can you get a live person, at least I did, and you can share your concerns about, let's just say, the confirmation hearings that they're doing on different members of the, whatever they're calling it these days. Is it still a cabinet? But anyway, that number is 202-224-3121. And I've never been able to call them this easily. Okay. In the years of, you should call your representative and get this information. It's always been like a hassle. So I thought this was pretty cool and I wanted to share it with you guys. And if somebody didn't get a chance to write it down and you want it, just send me a message. And that's all I have.
Can you just repeat that number, please?
Sure. 202-224-3121.
Thank you.
Sure. And anyone else have announcements? If not, we're going to go on to the item that we talk about a lot, which board is the reflections and board observations. This is our opportunity to have direct input on the status of how we're doing with our goal, one of our goals on our goal list. So as you know, there are those board reflection sheets that I would really like to request that y'all fill out when you attend a thing. Those of you that have been attending have been very good about filling them out, so I appreciate that. Thank you. And at some point, we probably should collate that data and make sure that we're actually doing the right thing for the right reasons.
Nilda, I just wanted to add something to that real quick. Is that I don't know that it needs to just be things that we've attended, because the more I've been thinking about it, just any kind of information that we receive from MRUSD, right? Because that would include social media information, but also like the blogs that are being sent out, weekly announcements, you know, all of the above. So just wanted to kind of broaden that scope a little bit. How we get information out.
Yep, thank you. Okay, we have our items for future meetings. That list needs to be modified. And then we do need an executive session. So I'm going to make a motion that we have a finding under VSA subsection 313A1 that we go into executive session to discuss negotiations update because a premature general public knowledge would clearly place the board and others at a substantial disadvantage. So I made that motion. Could someone second it, please?
Joanna will second it.
All right, we're gonna vote now. Amanda,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Nikuma,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Amanda votes yes. Okay, now I need a motion to go into executive session for all the reasons I just mentioned. I'm gonna make that motion again, so I need a second, please.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to go into executive session and we're gonna vote. Amanda,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Nikuma,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yeah.
Carly,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Yilda, votes yes. Okay, so, I need to have some people leave the room. I need the board.
Bree, and I would ask for Bree, myself, and Becky, since we support the
Okay.
negotiation.
So, board is Becky and Bree. So the three Bs, BQ.
That's right, you too.
Right, so I'm just gonna move the other guests that are online into a breakout room, so they're not there with you, and
Yeah.
leave this up.
Get rid of our other guests.
Thank you all for being here.